Good afternoon. My name is Marion Bailey, and today I will be telling you about Speak and Write, harnessing the power of dictation and word processing. And yesterday we had this amazing training with Donna Mazzatelli, and she taught about journaling, writing, and stuff like that. And she was encouraging people to not only be limited to writing with pen and paper or to typing, um, but I brought up the fact that you can use voice dictation if you have limited hand mobility, or if your thought process comes out of your mouth easier than your hands. Because a lot of times I know I'll be like, man, for me, if I could just tell my story and not have to worry about writing it down, because for me, my passion, pen and paper. I like writing with utensils. I can't tell you how many different fountain pens and a whole slew of them. And I wanted to be able to have different formats and see if journaling for me is maybe voice dictation of being able to also be able to write more stories and do different ways of being able to speak my truth, not just necessarily have to write it and then retype it. A while back, Donna had told me that she tends to handwrite her first draft, and then her second draft of things ends up being when she would type things out. That's where some of her edits would come from. And that was a good thought as well. It just really depends what people are taking into what their needs are, what they feel comfortable with. And so I thought, well, you know what? I bet a lot of people don't realize they already have the tools for voice dictation with this. Um, because Google and Word both have this built into the program. In Google Docs, everybody has for free. You just have to have a Google account. And if you don't have a Google account, creating one is free. You just go in and create a Gmail email. Um, and if you have any questions, by the way, the Q&A section up top where your name is there, there's a Q&A section. I will leave that open. You're free to put questions there, and I will answer them. um, yes, I see your question. Yes, that is exactly where you can. Carol who? Doc? Oh, face. Sorry. My bad. Yes, you should. Sorry. It's lot week 2. And I was in a Zoom before this, and yes, cool. I was in a Zoom before this, and so it wasn't recognizing my camera at first. My bad. Anyway, uh, again, welcome. Let's get started. I don't want to take up your full hour with this because I think it is a pretty cut and dry thing to learn. But I did want to encourage everybody, because since we're recording these classes this week, they will go on the HIP Seniors live community page for members later to go back and watch and see what they missed. And so, regardless as to there being a lot or a few people at each meeting, we are recording and we're going to be using this information later. So, I'm going to go ahead and screen share. And I opened up Google Docs for you. And like I said, if you don't have this available, then you just simply go in there and some people use their other emails to log into Google, and that's fine as well, obviously. But you can do it a number of different ways. If you're in something Google and you see this grid up here in the right hand corner, it looks like tic tac toe. You just simply click on there, and then you can get to Google Docs that way. See this where this is Docs? You just simply click that, and that will pull up this window. And be sure to name your document. I always do this as my first step, because when you get a bunch of untitled documents, now you've got to go through and figure out which one was which. And sometimes we get busy, we get a phone call, or we have to leave for a meeting or something, and we don't get around to naming our stuff when it's in Google Docs this way, because it automatically saves and we're like, oh, that was saved. and then maybe your power went out or something and it closes everything down on your computer and restarts it, then you've got a bunch of untitled documents in your stuff. And it's a lot easier. Just remember when you start out to name stuff. So we're just going to name it voice dictation, enter. You can see with Google Docs, it automatically saves it. So we're going to get started. I have one of my authors on Hip Senior Books has this book. It's Shine On You Crazy Diamond, Even When Your Crown Feels Heavy. It is this amazing book. It's for women through inspirational quotes and personal experiences. Catherine shares lessons learned as she went through the process of clearing out the debris of shame, guilt, unrealistic expectations from self and others, social stigma and conditioning, childhood traumas, and the other unnecessary and unrealistic pressures that we as women put on ourselves. And this book by Catherine Owens, and it's thick. It's got a lot. And when you open it up, it's got some stories, a few of them, but a lot of them are just different quotes by people that are empowering and meaningful. This sits on my desk lately since I've gotten this book. I go through and I open it up just to a random page, and I just assume that the universe is going to tell me something with this page that day. And then I date it so I know where that I was at that page already. And so today I opened it up, and interesting enough, I opened it up to this story. I was looking for something that was a little bit more substantial that we could read to use as an example for voice recognition. And I opened it up to Own Your Story, which I thought was interesting enough. I don't look like a senior. Okay, thank you. I am 53. I'm getting there. And I will tell more about the HIPS page here in a few minutes. We'll take a break in between Word and Google Docs, and we'll talk about that. Okay. So we are in Google Docs, and it's not obvious. What I like about Word is that they made it obvious. There's a button on there that says voice recognition. Google Docs does not. If you don't see it either, you just simply go into Tools and then go down to voice typing. It's Control-Shift-S for future reference. I just always go into Tools and then go down to voice typing. And then it's as simple at literally as that. You could choose different languages, whatever you're speaking, to clarify more. And that's literally it. And then you just click to speak. So I'm just going to read the first paragraph from the story. It's 2 pages. I don't think we want to do 2 pages. I just want to do a paragraph so we don't have to do that whole thing. And then we'll go from there. So we just literally click. And the thing is that with sometimes it recognizes punctuation and other times it does not as much. So I always say punctuation because I want it to realize what it is that I'm trying to say. One of them, and I can't remember which one, does a better job of punctuation. So I'm just going to say it regardless. So we're going to click speak to type. Another exercise I was given in the pursuit of getting back to me was to write out my life story from the earliest memory I had to the present moment, period. This was harder for me than I expected, period. There were moments I was proud of and was excited to write about, period. And then there were moments, comma, memories, comma, and times in my life that I had spent years keeping safely tucked away, buried in the cobwebs of my soul, childhood traumas, failed relationships, comma, being a young single parent with no college education, comma, the list seemed to go on, period. And then I'm going to click it again, tell it to stop, and I'm going to have a swallow of drink because I almost choked up there. Uh, So you can see that it did a pretty good job of listening. I wasn't sure where it said cobwebs of my soul. Um, Cobwebs of my soul. There was a dash here. So we'll just go back in. So sometimes it's important to go back in and take a look at things that are highlighted with red because it'll give me things that maybe it missed and didn't quite get. And we see this was supposed to be seamed. But if we're talking and we just say, we're just randomly talking and telling our story, comma, sometimes it will get it 100% correct. And other times it just might need a few edits here and there. I think that, see there, it did not put in that period at the end of there. And that's where I think Word does a little bit better. But also, Word these days is a paid platform. I don't think the older versions of Word, if you have them, have that built into it yet or ever will, actually. So we'll stop that. See here, this was all one long sentence. But with Google, you do have to put in your punctuation. And then, like I said, you just have to go back and make sure that it got it. But it's not 100% correct with this. But if you have dexterity problems or trouble holding pens or this things come out of your mouth better than your hands, like I said earlier, it is definitely an alternative to not being able to put things into a document. So for obviously that is one way to do that. I just lost that page. Oh, there it is. Okay. So that's how you use Google Documents. Do you have any questions about that? While I am waiting to see if you have any questions, you asked about the HIP Senior is a platform for people aged 50 and over, and it is geared towards bringing seniors together and businesses that serve them together. Does it work on Pages on a Mac? That I don't know. I do have a Mac over there. It's not set up right now. You can try Google it. I don't have the most current iOS for that. That computer's pretty old. It's up probably three ones ago. The answer is I don't know. We can Google it, find out. Pages have voice. Apparently, you can add different things to it to make that work. Right off the cuff, I'll say I don't think if it does have it built in, I don't know. Is there something that will add to it? Apparently. Okay. Anyway, back to the Hip Senior. So the Hip Senior, if you go to thehipsenior.com, that is a platform where we bring everybody together, businesses and seniors. There's a magazine. There is a directory that we're building out with businesses that have the heart and the soul to serve seniors in it. That they each have their own page and they tell their story. They can offer events and different specials that they're having, stuff like that through there. Then we have a podcast that we talk to. If seniors want to come on it, they can come and tell stories, do whatever they want on it, as well as other businesses tell about how they're helping people and uh, they talk about different products and interesting stuff like that. And then we have a book page that is brand new. It's only a couple months old right now. We have about 150 books on it. And those books are geared towards seniors and their caregivers. It could be anything from cancer books to dementia books to memoirs to inspiration, you name it. And the difference between that and, say, just going straight to Amazon and buying a book is that each book, when you click on it, it has the author telling their story with interview with me as to why they wrote the book and who they intended it for and stuff like that. And then Live Community that we're on right now just literally launched last week. We started it now about 3 weeks ago, and just something told me this is what you need to do. You need to launch Live Community because I set out in the world. I'm like, hey, I've got plans for the Hip Senior. I'm just not sure what my next step should be. What should I do? And literally overnight while I was sleeping, I woke up and I'm like, Live Community. And so I immediately got to work to building it. If you go to, and I'll put it here, you got live community online. And you probably, if you're watching this later, you already know this. And if when you registered, you probably went to the website as well. And live community is designed to bring together people over the age of 50 that want to have another way of connecting with each other than social media. We have live classes like this. We have different interactive events such as trivia, which we have tonight at 4, by the way. With trivia, we have wine tasting coming up every Friday at 4 o'clock. We have a wine class that's going to teach you about different wines. And then once a month, we're actually going to say, hey, this is the wine that we're going to do next month. You can order it from Linda, who's teaching the classes, or you could just go and order it from somewhere else or go pick up a bottle of wine and taste along and experience that. And book club and different stuff like that. And then we also have an open chat room every day from 2 to 4 p.m. that people can just come hang out, just talk to each other, chat, talk. And if you're working on something, you're lonely and you've got something to do, just come log in. Chat. You don't even have to talk, just listen to other people, just be with me. If there's no one else there, just hang out. I'm trying to help seniors at no matter what stage tackle boredom, loneliness, depression, stuff like that. So I'm giving them reasons to connect and to continue learning and for the neurons to be firing. We're also sponsoring two two medical care professionals a chance to become certified dementia specialists with this program. We're sponsoring that every month, as well as offering to help support other groups that support seniors as well. It's $5 a month for live community, and that goes towards helping all the above that I was just talking about. Good cause, really affordable, cheaper than a cup of Starbucks coffee. Don't come at me for that. I'm just saying. And then, so that's what that's about. So, all right. Now that I have done my little spiel about that, let me get over here to Word because I was working on this last night and making sure that my software was up to date so that it wouldn't update in the middle of this. Okay. So I'm going to resize this a little bit so I can see if you have questions. Over here again, see what I mean? Word made it a lot easier. Now, Word has been doing this longer than Google Docs, and I'm not sure that a whole lot of people actually use this feature in either of them, which is a shame because I do think that it does have its benefits for several different reasons. Like I said, whether it be dexterity, whether it be your thought process, you could be working on something else and have this on a different screen, and you could be typing out your thoughts while you're working on something else. I don't have enough brain capacity these days to multitask that type of way. But say you were doing that and you are like, oh, this suddenly came to me. You could just literally have this open, click dictate and start talking. Okay. So over here on the dictate button, it has an arrow down. And if you click on this arrow down, it'll tell you whether you're transcribing. So transcribe converts speech to text transcript. Each speaker is individually separated and syncs with your audio. If you had a meeting and you wanted to transcribe, you could do it that way as well. There's a lot of programs out there that charge big bucks to do that. So the fact that it's built into Word now is a really nice feature. And then Dictate is doing what we're doing today. It says here. Okay. The other thing is, see here, it shows because I had it set up yesterday to use my regular microphone. It is automatically using that. But when I turned it on, see, it's not putting in punctuation either, period. So that's why and usually, period. Yeah. See, I went back and corrected that period there, period. And then we could click this if we want to stop using that. Yesterday, though, when I logged in, It had the wrong microphone. It was using the microphone for my camera, which no bueno. If you click in here, you can click on settings for this one. It has a little bit more features to this. And oh, look here, enable auto punctuation. That's why it wasn't doing that. So always checking out settings is an important thing. I missed this yesterday, I will admit, but we found it today, and that's the important part. But yesterday it had in here my camera mic. And so you want to check for that as well, because that does not produce, in my situation, does not produce the best product. And when we go over here and we choose the correct mic, and then we can choose enable auto punctuation, filter sensitive phrases. I'm guessing that's if you're cussing or something. I don't know what that's about. That's on. Turn that off, see how that works. I don't want it filtering my stuff. I want it to type what I say. We're going to save. Well, let's go down and try this without putting in the punctuation and see how this works. Another exercise I was given in the pursuit of getting back to me was to write out my life story from the earliest memory I had to the present moment. This was harder for me than I expected. There were moments I was proud of and excited to write about. And then there were moments, comma, memories, and times in my life that I had spent years keeping safely tucked away, buried in the cobwebs of my soul. Dash, childhood traumas, failed relationships, being a young single parent with no college education. The list seemed to go on and on. So you can see it automatically put in the punctuation, and it did a pretty good job. Here I had said dash, or no, where was that before? Here is I said dash, which is what the book has, and it put in the name dashes. So we'll just go back and we'll fix that. But it had less spelling mistakes than if we look over here. It had a bunch of red highlights that it thought needed fixed, capitals and stuff like that. And see what I mean? If we look in here, there's just not the settings like enable, turn on your mic, use voice typing, use voice commands. See, it doesn't have the options in here that you would need Word does. So I think Word is a better option to be doing less editing. I had to find it there. But I think that, oops, here's me. Let me get back to that. I think it does a better job. I think it has more settings available. And not many, right? We saw there was only just the voice, the mic, and the auto punctuation, and the ability to filter out things. But still, the option to be able to turn on auto punctuation or not was an important one. As you can see, it did a pretty good job. And again, if you're trying to match word for word what something says, it may not get it 100% correct. And you may have to peruse back through there and check things out. But in the meantime, I think it, again, is a really good option. Here, you can see when I put in that dash, it had put in another period. So we would go through it and just delete that period. But it did a pretty good job, don't you think? I think that the two options are valid options. But again, the fact that did a much better job than this did tells me that since I have both, I would probably use Word as my option. Now, remember, they used to have different softwares available that you would have to purchase. And let me stop sharing. You would have to purchase them, and then you could use that program, and then you'd cut paste it maybe into Word or whatnot. Or it would then it started tying into Word where you could use it built into that. But it was still $100 and some program for a while. Then it went down to about $59 or so. The fact that Google Voice, if you're on a budget and you do not spend money on Google or Word, which is 100 and some dollars this year. That's now was $99, but I think after taxes and stuff, and it might have gone up, just Amazon did their own shame there. Google is definitely a valid option. Like I said, I didn't want this to take up a whole hour of your time today, but I just wanted to show you how to use it and what it was about and reasons to do it. Donna is going to be continuing her series of journaling, and we're going to talk about some of this as we go over do that. It will be 2 weeks from yesterday. Yesterday was August or July 31st, around the 14th or so. We will have number two, where we actually get into the meat of the writing and how to do it and stuff like that. Yesterday, she just inspired us with why we should be keeping journals and stuff, like the tools that we should use, where we should write, different stuff like that. So it will be for replay on the website as well. And if you're interested in that, I can make that public for you so that you can watch it as well. Again, Marion Bailey with the Hip Senior and our new live community, which we're on right now. And just trying to educate people and inspire people and to help bring people together and to help fight depression and loneliness within seniors. Where you should go to register and sign up. Again, it's only $5 a month. And I get right now things are tight. $5 might be a lot to you. And if that's the case, I certainly understand. But we're doing a lot of good in the world with $5 from each membership. So we're hoping to get a lot of people signed up so we can do a lot of good out there. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for joining us.